to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and we're doing something that I said we would not be doing on this show, and that is talking Leagues Cup. We'll see if we're talking about Wednesday night's game, but we'll definitely talk about Saturday night's game against Club Tijuana, and a game that the Philadelphia Union won 3-1. And I guess I don't have an issue talking about Leagues Cup as long as I can get a guest on the podcast. And every time that I intro a guest into the show, I feel like it doesn't matter because when you guys are reading the episode title, you guys see, it says featuring blah, blah, blah. And so you guys can see that we have a guest on tonight's episode. And I believe, if I'm correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time you've been back on the podcast since we were in Philadelphia at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. And if you guys didn't listen to those episodes, what are you guys doing? But tonight's guest is Billy Myers. Billy, how you doing?
Good, Todd. And you're right. This is the first time that I've been back on the podcast since then, but I don't really count that because I was a host.
You were a host
for the convention. So this is the first time I've been back as a guest. And what the fuck has taken so long? I thought we were friends.
I know. I think I had Julian and Kyle back on like twice since
yeah.
Maybe 3 times. And if you want to count the Twitter Spaces episode, then it's definitely 5 and 6 times. So yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, I won't count the Twitter Spaces because I would get on too if I had the time. But you always do them right at bedtime for the kids, so I usually can't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I still haven't been able to find a happy medium because I'm like, should we do 7:30? People are like, no, let's do 8. Still doesn't work. 8:30 still doesn't work. 9 o'clock still doesn't work. So it's like, I don't know. Like Twitter Spaces,
you can't
cool.
please everyone at the same time.
Exactly. So I'm sure part of it's work, part of it's kids, where people just don't feel like getting on Twitter Spaces and they'd rather listen to the podcast whether they're at work or driving to work, whatever the case may be. So yeah, we haven't done a Twitter Spaces in a while either, but it's good to have you back on and be a guest. And like you said, not a host. And going back to that coaches convention, I do kind of wish that kind of sucked with some of the guests that we had. We had limited amount of time. That's the only thing that I would complain about the coaches convention. But other than that, I thought it was pretty cool. Like JP, 10 minutes, right? And you he wanted to keep talking with you, and the PR director from Fox is like, you got to wrap it up. And JP's like, but these guys are Philly. I want to keep talking. He's like, nope, you got to wrap it up. Come on.
Yeah, you spent the whole time talking to him about indoor soccer. I wanted to talk to him about the Union.
And we didn't. We didn't get the opportunity. Jim Curtin came over and talked to us for 10 minutes. Tom Bogert, which was probably the biggest surprise, did not expect him to be there. And yeah, it was pretty cool talking to Tom. I feel like he was probably our longest guest that we actually talked to as well.
I think so.
And that's when the Union were being linked with Joaquin Torres. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Brenner was being linked with Udinese, which did eventually happen. So yeah, good times. But we're here to talk about Leagues Cup. We're here to talk about, some interesting games that happened over the weekend. But before we get into all that, I do want to get you guys caught up with the news. And there is one news point that I do want to get your opinion on, Billy. This is a player that you've been hoping the Union would make a deal for a while. And again, it does not happen. So we'll talk about that player here in a bit. But without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so starting off with New York City, they have sold their best player, winger Gabi Pereira, to Qatari side Club Al Rayyan for $10 million. New York City received a sell-on percentage. He arrived last season from Brazilian side Corinthians last season for $5 million. This season with New York City, 6 goals, 3 assists, and, New York City continue to rebuild that roster. And I don't blame New York City if you paid $5 million and somebody's giving you double what you paid. Yeah, of course you're going to accept that. But for New York City fans, I mean, you lose your best player, your most creative player. We saw that last weekend when the Union played in NYC. got the assist against the Union, and he caused a lot of issues on the Union's left side of the field. And now the Union don't have to worry about Gabi any longer. Moving on to news bit number 2, LAFC have announced the signing of Mario Gonzalez from Sporting Club de Braga of Portugal using TAM. So LAFC get another forward, much needed striker, I would say, for their team. And we'll see. Will this be the same impact that the Gareth Bale signing had last year around the same time? And we don't have to talk about what Gareth Bale did for LAFC last year. Into Miami, we'll stay with them. They have announced the signing of former Barcelona left back Jordi Alba, signed through 2024. Will be a TAM signing. We can get into this if you want, Billy. I'm not sure how Jordi Alba, who was making, I believe, over $10 million last year with Barcelona, is only going to be earning $1.6 million this season with Inter Miami. Now, maybe it's something where I think we heard the reports, if Gareth Bale would have came back this season for LAFC, then he would have been a DP signing. But because he only signed a half a season contract, he was able to make TAM. So I guess that's essentially what's happening with Jordi Alba since he's coming into MLS with half of the season already gone. But I don't know. I think questions should still be asked. And then Inter Miami also announced the signing of Paraguayan international Diego Gomez to a contract running through the 2026 MLS season with an option for the 2027 season. The central midfielder joins and he'll be a part of the MLS's U22 initiative. So, any thoughts on how Jordi Alba is a TAM player? I mean, does it make sense?
Honestly, I think this is probably the only time that it makes sense because everybody wants to come back to play with Messi again. These guys have already made so much money. They've probably got their hands in other things because they're not dumb. They're smart businessmen. They're still making money. They could retire and still make money. So now they're just coming to have fun, play with their friends, live in Miami. I could totally see taking, I mean, 1.6 million is still not, it's not nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's still a lot of money. So I can see why some of these guys would take less money to play with Messi again.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's crazy though. I mean, Miami went out yesterday. I think it was announced that they made a trade with San Jose to get a international roster spot. People automatically assume that's going to be for Luis Suarez. I don't know. I mean, you look at all these signings that Miami have made recently, and they're all international signings. So maybe that spot they traded for with San Jose is going to be for one of these international signings, whether it be Busquets, whether it be Messi, whether it be Alba. But I don't know. I think you're the one who said it in our group chat that somebody like Messi, like you wouldn't be surprised that he could get a green card right away just because it's Messi.
So yeah, that's one thing. But also, I saw someone say the other day that Miami currently has 9 international players listed, and Messi's not part of those 9. And as far as we know, they haven't traded for any international spots this season until just now. So that gives them 9 spots for the 9 players listed, and Messi's not part of that 9. So either they need another one or he did somehow get a green card, in his many years of owning a home in Miami. I guess we'll find out soon.
Hopefully, right? I mean, hopefully it's not, MLS just saying, okay, no questions asked, and we'll just keep this hush hush. But I do think it's kind of criminal. I think San Jose, I think it was reported that they got $150,000 in GAM. Look, Miami's desperate for international roster spots. Like any team in MLS should be like, no, you're paying me double that. You're paying me $500,000 for an international roster spot because you want to sign these players, you want to register them, and you don't have the spots. We're going to charge you a premium. And how San Jose offers them a spot basically for free makes no sense to me. No sense.
Yeah, $150,000 is pretty standard price for an international spot in the second half of the season after the window closes. But in the thick of the window, when teams really need it, you usually see them going for a lot of money. And to give it to Miami basically for nothing when you know that they desperately need it is really bad business by San Jose.
Yeah, super bad business. 2 more points, and then we're talking about Leagues Cup. Austin FC are acquiring center back Matt Hedges from Toronto. And Matt Hedges just signed this offseason from FC Dallas in Toronto, but with Bob Bradley out and them not having a sporting director, them not having a coach, it's a fire sale up there in Toronto. And this begs questions now. We saw Brendan Craig go to Austin. We assumed that he would be the third center back in Austin. Now he's going to go fourth, fifth, maybe.
Right.
And now I kind of wonder, I get Union fans' point on social media, like, well, if they were going to do this, then why did we send Brendan Craig out there? I mean, wouldn't we want him to learn our system and not Austin's? I mean, I do agree with that, but now I definitely can't see Brendan Craig getting any time with Austin.
Maybe after a few training sessions, they realized the same thing that the Union did.
It's possible, right? Very possible. Which is another thing. I don't know why Union fans like rate Brendan Craig so high. They act like he's the second comings of Jesus, and I'm like, okay, he does well against people his age, but against grown men, grown professionals that have been in the game for years, he's obviously not ready, because if he was, then the Union would have been playing him more. They wouldn't have went out and signed Damian Lowe in the offseason. They wouldn't have went out and traded for the young South African center back. So, I mean,
they wouldn't have started Nathan Harriel as a center back.
I know.
There's been plenty of opportunities to slot Craig in if Jim and Ernst thought he was good enough for it. And instead they chose Kai Wagner and Nathan Harriel. Nathan Harriel, who's a right back, to play left center back. Not even right center back, where I think he could excel. Left center back, where he notoriously gets dragged right every time.
All the time, because it's natural for him. I mean, he's a right-footed player, like you said, so he's naturally going to shift over right. Yeah, I mean, that Brendan Craig situation's, I don't know. I think fans are making it out to be a lot more than what it really is. He's just a player that's not ready for first-team minutes. And Jim Curtin said it in his press conference a couple weeks ago. We thought this deal made sense because he's getting an opportunity to potentially play for a first team in MLS. And no offense to MLS Next Pro, but that's not going to help him in his development. This will.
No.
But if he's not playing in Austin, then that's also not going to help him in his development. But the last bit of news I want to talk about, and this is one that I'm sure you're going to have a lot of thoughts on, that is the Columbus Crew have acquired Julian Gressel from Vancouver Whitecaps for $550,000 in GAM, split between this season and next season. Vancouver can also earn an additional $300,000 in GAM between 2024 and the 2026 season based on conditional terms. 24 goals, 65 assists, and 202 regular season games for Julian, 181 starts. He's won 5 trophies during his MLS career. And this is a player you've said for years. Like, you have been the most vocal person publicly on Twitter saying the Union need to go out and get Julian Gressel. And again, here's an opportunity they could have done it, and Columbus takes advantage of that opportunity.
Especially with the news of Mbaizo wanting to leave because of his visa situation, Julian Gressel would be the perfect replacement. And it could even be potentially, a chip in trying to get Kai Wagner to stay. Could you imagine the two German wingbacks just flinging in crosses like that from both sides?
You'd have the two best crosses in MLS. I mean, Julian Gressel. Then I guess the question has to be, okay, the Union have to go out and get a tall striker.
Striker, yeah.
go call up Casper. He would love that.
We'll convert Jack Elliott.
I mean, did play striker at West Virginia, so.
And he knows how to head a ball into the back of the net.
He does. So, I mean, it's an opportunity I think I would have liked to have seen the Union pursue, like you said, with Mbaizo handing in a transfer request because he wants to be with his family. And we talked about that 2 podcasts ago, the whole Mbaizo situation. And here's an opportunity. Julian Gressel, he thrived in Atlanta, thrived in DC, thrived in Vancouver. And I'm sure he's going to do the same thing in Columbus. And here's a team that doesn't need any more help offensively. And now they get a fantastic player for the right side of the field. And Columbus, I think, are going to be a really difficult team here the closer we get to playoffs. And Julian Gressel, like I said, he's won 5 trophies in his career. And I think you take away how good of a crosser he is, you're bringing in a winner. And that goes a long way. He's a player that knows what it takes to win a championship. And that's invaluable. Like if the Union could have added a player that knows what it is to win MLS Cup, that could have went a long way. And the Union's potential losses, Columbus's game, and I do think it's funny that Julian said he wanted to be closer to the East Coast,
And he chose Columbus.
and I don't think anybody told him that. Yeah, sorry, Ohio is not on the East Coast.
I'm sure nobody else offered him the same that Columbus was offering.
That too. Wouldn't that have been something if we would have won back with DC United?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It was such a shitty situation the way he found out he was being traded because Wayne Rooney wasn't going to play a wingback system, and now a year later he's playing a wingback system with Benteke up front, who hasn't had a great week, but he's been known to score some great goals in the air. So Julian Gressel to Benteke could have been a lethal combo, and Wayne Rooney fucked it all up.
He did, right? I mean, they had that player sitting there at home. He was happy in DC. His wife was happy in DC. And Wayne Rooney says,
they just bought a house.
Yeah, exactly. They just bought a house, and then he doesn't even find out until like he was already traded, right? I think that was the story. They called him in.
He walked into the training facility, and they told him basically to go home. Wife had already known. Like, I guess somebody broke the news before he.
On social media, that's right.
He got home, and his wife had already knew, so he didn't even get to tell his wife. Yeah,
she saw it on Twitter.
Situation. Yeah,
yeah, so unprofessional. I was gonna say, and we've seen now the reports between Nigel Robertha and Taxi Fuentes again. Another alleged racial incident, this time with his own teammate. And They got into a scrap apparently in training. And I saw Nigel was invited back to training. He's cleared, and Taxi's still under investigation. And I don't know. I feel like this is the second time he's being alleged. It's time for DC United just to cut ties. I mean, you can't have a player around that's now been questioned twice for racially abusing somebody, one opposition, and now your own teammate. Like,
exactly. It's one thing to say, we don't believe the other team, this and that, but now you got to believe your own player when they're saying it.
Yeah, I mean, what a mess. And we joke about how horribly run DC United is, and they bring in Wayne Rooney, and he's going to clear things up, but DC is still having the same issues. Maybe the results on the field are a little bit better, but off the field issues, whether it be front office stuff or now the Taxi situation again.
They fired Lucy in the offseason too, right?
They did, yeah.
They just completely dismantled it, which sometimes you have to do for a rebuild, but it doesn't look like they're rebuilding anything.
No, they're getting all these older players from Europe that show why they're not in Europe anymore.
Who was the Jamaican striker that they brought in?
Ravel Morrison?
Yeah. Gone already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, thank God I'm not a DC United supporter. All these podcasts could have been just negativity, and I mean...
It was only the difference of 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, really, 15 minutes, yeah. Yeah, like 15, it's crazy. But then you calculate how long you can't control traffic and everything, so that 15 minutes can turn into like 30 minutes, maybe longer. But there also is the metro, but again, I think I've said it before in the podcast, I don't want to rely on public transportation. I would rather rely on myself, knowing that I don't have to rely on somebody else's schedule, but that's a conversation, I guess, for another day. So I guess before we talk about Leagues Cup, so we talked about all the news, again, just teams continuing to get stronger and stronger. And before Saturday's game, I talked with some people and asked them their thoughts on just other teams signing players while the Union really haven't done anything yet. And the sense I got from people were they were a little bit nervous and a little bit disappointed that, okay, the Union aren't signing anybody, and then you have other MLS teams, at least on paper, getting stronger. So what about you? I mean, are you disappointed the Union haven't done much? I mean, this is kind of their MO where they're pretty quiet in the summer while other teams are getting stronger, it seems, at least on paper.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm definitely feeling nervous as I'm seeing teams sign players and, some of them having an impact already. I mean, Bupenza scored in his debut. Pukki scored in his debut. So I'm definitely a little nervous, but after 3, 4 years, I know how Ernst operates. We hardly ever get leaks because he doesn't tell anyone what's going on. So just because we're not hearing things doesn't mean that he's not working. We signed a U22 player for the first time in our history, a South African center back who I know you don't want to judge players based off of YouTube clips, but he looks like he's got all the raw skills to be a great star, and he's going to be behind the three best center backs in the league. So he could be great for the future. That was a place that we needed to fill after Brandon Craig left. So still hoping to get at least one attacking player. If it's not a striker, at least attacking midfield player, and we make Quinn Sullivan or Chris Donovan work. But I am starting to feel a little nervous.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we're kind of getting into the same situation we were last year. We're the same 11. And we saw the difference it was with LAFC bringing Gareth Bale off the bench, bringing Christian Teo off the bench, while we're bringing off Chris Donovan. And I don't know. I like that. There was a difference, I think. Like, what if it comes down to be the difference yet again? The Union make it back to MLS Cup, and
I'll say this, though. LAFC was bringing Gareth Bale and Christian Teo off the bench, but it didn't really give them that much of an advantage. We tied them still in the Shield. We only lost the Shield on MLS having a different tiebreaker than the rest of the league, right?
Yep.
They only won MLS Cup in PKs. It's not like Bale and Teo had them running away with both trophies. We were still there with them neck and neck the entire time. So I trust Ernst. I trust what Jim can do with whoever Ernst brings in. I trust the guys on the field, especially that same starting 11. Last season, it was nice having a Corey Burke come off the bench, and I think that's the only piece that we're missing right now is someone that, as Jim always says, a game changer, someone that comes in and changes the game, changes the formation, changes the pace, and that's what I'm hoping they're going to bring in during this window.
And we hope that Joaquin Torres could be that player, and I don't know. I mean, maybe he can give us a Marco Fabian moment where, Marco Fabian didn't have a great time here, but he gave us our first playoff win against New York Red Bulls with that cross that resulted in a goal. Maybe Joaquin Torres does something like that in the playoffs for the Union, and maybe he scores a game-winning goal if the Union make it back to MLS Cup. And for all the slander that Joaquin's got during the season, I think all that would be forgiven if he got a game-winning goal in MLS Cup for the Union. But you're right. Ernst Tanner keeps everything tight-lipped, and it's very, very rare when we see
including his
reports.
own contract.
Yeah, his own contract, which Jim Curtin said that Jay Sugarman and Ernst sat down and said that, the reason I signed this deal is because all three of us want to work together through 2026. So I don't know. I feel like Jim wouldn't have said that if something wasn't in the works for Ernst Tanner. So
I agree.
So hopefully, maybe, okay, let me ask you this. If the Union don't sign any other player the rest of the summer window, but they announce the extension to Ernst Tanner, is that good enough?
Good enough? No. Good? Yes. We need to bring in a player. We need to bring in an attacking player. Just re-signing Ernst is not good enough. Now, if we don't sign anyone and we don't sign Ernst, I'm going to kind of feel like maybe this was he was holding out, waiting for his contract, and Jay didn't give him what he wanted, so he didn't sign us any players, and then I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, that he sabotaged the season, and now, you wasted Kai Wagner's last year, maybe as a change of heart, and wants to resign with Philadelphia, but I seriously doubt that's going to happen, but I don't know, money talks, right?
That's right.
Anything's possible, but man... That would suck if he sabotaged this season. I mean, look, Jacob Glesnes, he's having a great season. Who's to say that he doesn't make it back into MLS's best 11? And now some team in Europe wants to sign him, and the offer's too good to turn down. And now Jacob Glesnes is gone. So it's like, you have all these players here. You ran it back-to-back years with the same starting 11. Don't sabotage this season, but we shall see what happens. I think a couple more weeks, and then the summer transfer window is closed. So we'll see if the Union make any moves, but Don't hold your breath. But let's go ahead and talk about my absolute favorite topic. The whole reason you wanted to come on.
You're coming around.
And that is a Leagues Cup. And man,
Leagues Cup.
What a weekend for the inaugural set of games.
It's been incredible.
New Leagues Cup competition, kicking off on Friday with Inter Miami and Cruz Azul. I think Orlando also played on Friday. Who else played? Charlotte and Dallas, I think, played Friday night. But the game everybody was paying attention to was Inter Miami and Cruz Azul. During this first weekend, we had 5 red cards handed out in 15 games, 2 handed out in the Philadelphia Union and Tijuana game, 47 goals scored in 15 games, 5 games went into penalties, including that 16-15 Vancouver Lyon game. Messi scores on his debut, game-winning goal, free kick, and stoppage time. I mean, there's so many places that we can start. But where we're going to start is, what are your thoughts on Leagues Cup? I mean, I know we just saw our first set of games this weekend, but rewind that. Pretend you didn't see any of those games. Like, were you excited for this competition?
Yeah, absolutely. Since the very start. Much like Andrew Wiebe, I'm a Leagues Cup truther. I think more competitions with Liga MX is better for the growth of MLS. It gets more eyes on the league. It gets teams that don't regularly qualify for CCL more opportunity to play teams that are, for the most part, better than us. CCL is only, you might see 1 or 2 Liga MX teams, and it's always the top ones. But Leagues Cup gives us the opportunity as a whole to play the entirety of Liga MX, and it's only going to make MLS better. And hopefully the teams that don't do well against the Liga MX teams, this will open Don's eyes to the fact that we need some expansion in the roster rules and the salary cap. So I think everything about Leagues Cup is good. I understand your points about too many games, pausing the season. I agree with all of that. I think there could have been a better way to maybe integrate this into the season, but this feels like a mini World Cup, man, and I'm loving it.
Man, there's another point where I'm now hating this competition. And it's something that I really didn't give much thought to. And it is, none of these games are being played in Mexico. And about 3-4 hours before we started recording this, we saw a video come out that apparently Lyon are stuck in Vancouver. They have a game against LA Galaxy tomorrow night on Tuesday. So Tuesday when you guys listen to this podcast. And so that means that Lyon weren't able to train at all, weren't able to get a proper recovery. So they're going to be going into LA completely tired, completely worn out from their long penalty shootout against Vancouver. And that's something that completely skipped my mind is like, how's this fair that we're playing none of these games in Mexico? Of course, MLS teams are going to have the advantage. And I guarantee you, if MLS teams, we see it most of the time, when they go down to Mexico, MLS teams are getting whooped. And maybe that's something MLS didn't want to happen. Maybe they're like, okay, well, we know Liga MX teams are better than MLS teams. And for us to have a shot at all in this competition, we want all the games played in MLS stadiums.
I don't think it's that. I think, first of all, this is the very first year. I think logistically it was just easier. Pause both leagues, bring the fewer Liga MX teams to the U.S., play a group stage and then a knockout. It was just easier to do it that way. The other thing is, if we were rotating, flying down to Mexico and everything, this Lyon mishap could have still happened because of Canada's, requirements for crossing the border and so forth. This was, more of I think a clerical issue than a, tournament-wide issue. Somebody just didn't fill out the paperwork properly or get the paperwork in. This could have happened, this could have happened during Champions League as well. It's just an unfortunate thing that comes from just human error.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now all the eyes are going to be, oh, this is such a negative for the competition. And look, I mean, that's how I'm spinning it, right? And now people are like, yeah, you got a point, Todd. I mean, this is such a negative. This is
not good. It's definitely not good.
It is.
But it could have happened anywhere. I mean, an MLS team could get stuck in Canada.
Yeah.
Somebody fails to fill out the paperwork. We've had our own players get stuck in other countries because somebody didn't fill out paperwork. It just happens. Unfortunately, it happened during Leagues Cup that already has, several negatives going against it. But this kind of thing just happens sometimes, and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, it definitely is unfortunate. And again, you said there's a lot of negatives. We'll save that for Blunder of the Week. I thought about doing Blunder of the Week here, but I'm like, nah, we're already talking about Lyon and Vancouver, so let's stay on that topic. Like I mentioned, 16-15, Vancouver won penalties.
It's insane.
Did you watch that?
I haven't yet. I have to go back. I think I fell asleep.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, no way. 16-15 on penalties. Yeah. Like, nobody wanted to win that shootout.
Yeah, it's crazy. Leagues Cup is definitely delivering.
You have goalies, both goalies scoring in the penalty shootout, and nobody stepped up to save a penalty. We saw Cordova score a brace for Vancouver, big player for them, and we actually saw Lyon go ahead in this game and then actually come back and tie the game up 2-2, and then game went to penalties. And I don't know if Lyon's been to Vancouver before. I'm sure now they hate Vancouver after getting stuck and then playing such a long penalty shootout. But yeah, 16-15. I mean, welcome to Leagues Cup. Like, this is exactly what you need. Like I mentioned, 5 red cards handed out in the first 15 games.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, two of them in our game.
Which I think the second one probably.
From my angle, it looked clean. I haven't seen the replay yet, but people on Twitter were telling me that he didn't get the ball. But from my seat in the river end, it looked like a good tackle.
Yeah, Jim said after the game too that he thought that it was harsh that the defender, Jim thought too, from his point of view, got the ball. The referee,
Jim's a center back. He's always gonna.
Yeah, of course, he's always gonna look out for those guys.
He's always gonna say it's a clean tackle. The striker dove. That's Jim's nature.
Yeah, it's only a yellow. It's not dogs though. But
yeah,
when you are the last defender, and you put in a tackle like that, yeah, you're always asking for trouble. And
I said that immediately in our group chat too. I said if he's calling this a foul, it's got to be dogs. So
yeah, that's what I said in the press box. I was like, okay, he's calling a foul. There's 100% going to be a red card because you're not going to just give the foul and give nothing. If he's the last defender, Miguel Ua looks like he's in on goal, you're giving a red card. And yeah, Miguel Herrera was not happy at all. Got a yellow card in this game too. And
yes, he did.
He had a situation a couple years ago in Philadelphia at the airport too, if I'm remembering correctly. So bad time. Did you not hear about this?
I think so.
I think he got into it a couple years ago with a reporter in the Philadelphia airport, and I forget how long ago that is. I'll look it up maybe while we're recording this, see if I can find anything of it. But I saw a whole bunch of people, like once Miguel got the yellow card, they're like, oh, again, Miguel Herrera with another incident in Philadelphia. And
did you see his press conference?
I did, yeah. So, I mean that could have been
fair to him to not blaming the team. He did want to make it clear that he's not accusing us of cheating in any way, just of the refs being biased towards the home team, which I think any fan that plays an away game will have the same feeling.
So apparently, in 2015, I'm glad you said something. So Miguel Herrera, this is from BN Sports. Miguel Herrera apologizes for actions in Philadelphia airport. Apparently, there was a alleged assault in the airport after he got fired from
men's Mexico national team.
Yeah,
Gold Cup.
He punched when
they lost to Jamaica.
Yeah,
yeah.
He punched a journalist in the Philadelphia airport. So
some journalists are asking for it.
Yeah, I mean. We'll hear a clip here. Jim Curtin was asked about Olivier Bizot's performance, and we can touch on that when we talk about the Philadelphia game. But Jim Curtin basically said, and Andre Blake, when I talked to him, he echoed the same statement, saying that, yeah, after games, you really don't want to talk to players because emotions are running high, and you don't want to tick anybody off. You want to go ahead and let the night pass, a couple of days pass, and then you bring up situations. And
yeah, the guy just lost his job, and you're shoving a microphone in his face.
Yeah,
probably saying some controversial things.
Yeah, you're trying to wind him up, trying to get a reaction out of him, and yeah, you get punched in the aftermath of it all. Let's see, what else can we talk about? The 5 red cards we mentioned. 5 games we said went into penalties. 47 goals scored in 15 games. That's a lot of goals scored. Um, did you fill out a bracket for this tournament?
No, I didn't. I should have though.
I was like $10,000 if you win.
Yeah, I saw
Definitely,
that.
definitely. Yeah.
It's wild though. I mean, it's already games are not going the direction that I thought they were going to go. So my bracket probably would have been cooked already.
Yeah, I said it asked, one of the questions were how many goals are going to be scored throughout the tournament. I said 144 total, 45 already in 15 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more than 144. So even if I get every single team right because I didn't select the number of goals correctly, well, I guess I'm not winning $10,000. So, but man, this tournament, I don't know. I mean, you look, a lot of controversy. Messi scoring on his debut. And this is a game I told you guys on Friday. I was like, yeah, I'm going fishing on Saturday, which, by the way, wasn't even able to go fishing because I didn't even tell you guys this. Maybe I only told Kyle, but because the place we were going to rent a boat from, they had no power. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to rent boats out. We're not allowed to because we have no power. And so I did stay up for the Inter Miami and Cruz Azul game, but I definitely would have stayed up for more if I didn't have to go to bed as early as I thought it was. But I still stayed up for this whole game, and I don't think it ended until like 10:30, 10:40. And
Yeah,
I am
something
glad
like
that I stayed up for this whole game, watching Messi come on a lot
I told
sooner
you.
than I thought he was going to come on. And you knew as soon as Messi got given that free kick in that area,
Yep.
it
Yep.
was only going to end one way. Messi, like a huge smile on his face, which we didn't see that in P Money Sign
It looks like
G.
he's having fun.
Definitely looks like he's having fun.
Ran straight into DeAndre Yedlin's arms, ran over to his family. Yeah, he looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, I mean, and
It's only game 1 though. He's not going to be having fun for long, but he looks like he's having fun.
they play tomorrow or Tuesday night
Atlanta
against Atlanta.
tomorrow.
Yeah, is that in Miami?
Yeah, I believe so. I saw Atlanta getting on the plane.
Dang, how did Miami get lucky to have 2?
Yeah, standings are based on last year's standings, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
sure.
that
You're right.
we'll
That's
host
why.
we'll
That's
host
right. Yep.
everything until LAFC. So I guess Miami finished higher than Atlanta.
They did,
last
yeah,
season?
because Miami made the playoffs and Atlanta missed out on playoffs. I want to say, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because
Yeah. So
Miami,
that's
I know
lucky for
Miami
them.
got knocked out by New York City, and Miami. Yeah, that's the only game Miami played was New York City. I'm trying to look at it now. Atlanta 11th last year, 10, 10, and 14. So yeah, they did miss out on the playoffs, and you're exactly right. That's why Miami gets a host. And man, there's fans back to back games. I get to see Messi, and apparently there's reports out that Messi
He's going to start
Yep.
and get the armband.
Yeah, I guess that's not surprising. I mean, it's Messi.
It's not surprising, but come on now.
Only been there one game.
Yeah.
Already giving him the captain's armband. But I don't think any of those Miami players are going to complain. Like,
no, they probably won't.
They're like, man, a couple weeks ago, we're playing with a whole bunch of MLS Next Pro players, and now we're playing with Messi, and Messi's. I mean, you saw the quality, right? Once him and Busquets came on, my big takeaway was, okay, we all know that they're not the fastest players, but their passing ability, like.
Yeah, Busquets had a one-time ball to Messi that like split 2 defenders and put Messi on a half turn between 2 more defenders. It was a one-time ball. He already knew where Messi was by the time it came to him, and he just hit it one time to him.
Yeah, and then you look, the connection between Joseph Martinez and Messi with the one-touch passing, and they've only had a couple training sessions together, and like they seem to understand each other really, really well. And I don't think anybody's debating that Joseph Martinez is a good striker. Yes, he's not the same striker that he was in Atlanta before the injury, but the quality's still there. He's a really, really smart player, and I think that's what separates him from a lot of strikers in this league. And I think that's why we've seen Joseph Martinez play in Europe before he came to MLS, because the talent's there. The soccer IQ's there, but might have been the wrong situation for him at the clubs he was at. I believe he was in Serie A. He was playing in Sweden before, I want to say. And yeah, I mean, we see when the Union sell players, they're looking at, okay, how's this player going to develop? Is this club going to develop them? Are they going to get them to the next step? And there are a lot of clubs that we talked about. Gabi Pereira, man, is Al Rayyan going to develop him? I'm going to say no. But New York City made double the money, and they obviously looked at the money aspect other than looking at, okay, how's he going to develop? And yes, New York City got a sell-on percentage there. And yeah, I think Pereira is 21, 22 years old. So odds are he'll probably get sold, and New York City will make some more money once he
Did
gets
Corinthians
sold.
have a sell on too?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, a lot of these Brazilian clubs, I mean,
pretty high. So
they're
New York
desperate
City
for
definitely
money.
need to drive it up.
And it's funny too, like everybody thought that it was going to be Talis Magno being sold, and it was not at all. And it could still potentially happen. And now we're getting back on New York City.
Ruining him.
They are. I don't think they know exactly where to play him. I mean, they've tried to play him as a 9. He's not a 9. He's a winger. They don't
He's
really
a winger.
want to play him.
They don't play
on the
wingers.
wing. Yeah. So I mean, it's maybe
it's our dilemma with Quinn Sullivan, but Quinn's young enough still to learn and adapt. Talis he's a winger. He's a winger, and he's not doing well at striker, and they keep trying to push him there, and it's not working.
Yeah, I wonder. I was thinking when you were saying that, I wonder if we could see a potential situation where New York City trade him to another MLS team. I mean, I don't know.
They're probably going to ask way too much for an interleague trade.
Exactly, a young player that
is he DP or U22?
I think he's a U22. I mean, man, you can obviously tell that. Yeah, he's 21 years old, so yeah, he would be a U22. I was not expecting us to get back on this topic of talking about New York City, but I mean, he's a player that's played with the Brazilian youth national team set up. I mean, he was a talented player in Brazil, and I remember the whole reason they said that he wound up in MLS is because he got sold to New York City during COVID, and a lot of those Brazilian clubs were desperate for money because they were taking such a huge loss during COVID. They couldn't have fans in the stadium, and so we know the European market, Ernst Tanner talked about this, was hit pretty hard, and the only teams that had the money were MLS teams. And so that's kind of how Talis wound up with New York City, and now he's just not playing at all for them. And so I don't know. I think his days will probably be numbered here with City, but a trade in MLS, I don't know. We'll see. Probably not, but if a team's desperate enough, gives enough money and gam, then maybe it happens. But somehow we wind up talking about New York City again. Let's go ahead and talk about the Unions game, though, and we'll wrap up the podcast. So what'd you think? I mean, EPL was in town, and there was a little over 17,000, I think they announced. I was shocked by that. I did not think there was going to be that many fans in the stadium.
I don't think there was actually 17,000 fans. It looked a little bit
just tickets sold.
That. Yeah, tickets sold. I would say there was probably a good 15,000, though. I mean, it was a decent crowd, more than I expected for a Saturday night Leagues Cup game that nobody knows what the hell it is with the EPL in town. But I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that this was the included game for the season ticket members. So Wednesday's game will probably be not as full, and the next round will probably be also not as full, just because nobody knows what the hell it is, and they have to buy tickets separately for it.
Yeah, I just got an email today, like before we recorded this. I opted out for the tickets, surprise to nobody. And my ticket rep, I guess, emailed me and said, hey.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it said, do you want to go ahead and re-up and add these tickets? And I'm like, absolutely not.
What was the price?
I did not get a price. So
I got charged today for Wednesday's tickets.
All I know is he said, yeah, if you re-up, you get your discount because you're a season ticket member. And I'm like, still not going to do it.
I mean, I got charged $51 today for 2 tickets. So plus fees, that's like $24 a ticket. No, that's for 2 tickets, 51.
Oh, okay.
So you think plus fees, right? That's probably $24 a ticket.
Yeah, so that's basically an MLS game.
I think that's less than what we pay for
Less. I
regular
think we
season
pay
now.
like
30?
27, maybe 30. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting up there.
I think we pay 27 with the season ticket discount. I think if you were to just buy tickets in the River End, I think they're 30 now.
Then they're going to go up again next year.
Probably. Messi tax.
Of course.
How else can the league pay for Messi, right?
Yeah, there's darn season ticket members paying the price.
Yeah, the whole league is paying Messi salary.
Love it. Wonder if we'll get now we're just rambling again. You can tell no notes. Wonder if we're gonna get our MLS season pass included again with season tickets next year. I feel like probably not. I think they just included that. I mean, okay, look, yes, it was free, but we paid for that because the ticket prices went up from 2022 to this year. I don't know how much it went up by. I'd have to look, but it definitely went up. And so, yes, we got them for free technically.
I believe Michael Borton said his rep told him that they increased 3% each season to deal with inflation. Plus, we also got a Leagues Cup game and a CCL game.
Yeah,
we got
did
one
get the CCL game. Yeah.
Right? So we got 2 games included. We got no friendlies, though, but CCL and Leagues Cup games are probably going to be more than friendlies. Yeah, and we got Leagues Pass. I don't think Leagues Pass was factored into our price increase that much. I think it was just the inflation and the CCL and Leagues Cup. But yeah, we'll definitely see if we get it for free next season. I think they might give it to us one more year and then expect us to pay for it.
Yeah, and $100, I mean, isn't terrible. I'm sure that price
80 if you pay the year.
80. Okay, so even cheaper.
Right? $79.99, I believe.
Yeah, you listened to Extra Time more than me, and they were plugging that heavily. So now that I think about it,
I'm also a season pass truther.
Making the extra.
It's
time
the best thing that's ever happened to this league.
The Apple deal.
Yeah, 100%. Even with all of its issues, again, same thing with the Leagues Cup. It's year one. They're trying shit, and they're learning what's not working. They've already fixed a bunch of shit mid-season that wasn't working or that was buggy. Year 2, things will get better. You're probably going to mention the schedule. Everyone knows already. It's been said to death. The schedule sucks. I understand what they were trying to do. They want 360 to take off. 360 is cool, save for a certain member of the staff. But it's a really great concept. When I turn my 5 TVs on, one of them has 360 on mute, But so they tried to put as many games on at the same time so that 360 would take off. But you can still spread the games out a little bit and have multiple games playing so they have something to do. And people can still watch more than 1 or 2 games in a night. So I think we'll see a schedule change in the next season. We'll see, maybe some adjustments to the user interface to make it a little bit easier to use. Hopefully we'll get an Android app back. I think year 2 is going to be way better than year 1. Maybe they'll adjust the price too. Maybe they'll bring it down a little bit. But I mean, everything we're getting for $80 or $90, I think it is for a full year. It's incredible. It's high definition. Nothing is blacked out.
Yeah, it's huge.
Watch it. You can watch it in, I think it says like 107 different countries or something. There's players, people don't grasp this, but there's players in this league from all corners of the world. Do you think Denny Bwanga's parents last year in Gabon could watch fucking LAFC? No, but they can now. And Mbaizo's parents in Cameroon, were they watching the Union? Maybe on an illegal stream somewhere. Now they can watch it on Apple. Like, people don't understand this. These young kids that are coming over, we have a 19-year-old from South Africa. Now his parents can watch, even if he plays MLS Next Pro, his parents can watch that also. We're watching the first team. We're watching second team. We're watching live Messi at training. Like, this league is getting more coverage from this alone. And anyone that says that it's going to deter people, it wasn't built for you. It was built for the people that are coming in. It was built for the technology age. It's the people built for those of us with our hands in our phones all day. And now we can watch MLS on our phone all day. Nothing's blacked out. Great coverage. Jillian, Andrew Wiebe, Bradley Wright Phillips, like guys that know the game, guys that are passionate about the game, women that know the game. It's the best thing that's ever happened for the league, and it's only going to get better over the next 9 more years we have.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't upset. Like, I mean, of course, like my biggest thing was commentators.
Yes.
And
it's a good point.
I think even like talking to some people that are commentators in the league, not going to name names, and I can't remember if they said that on the podcast that Apple's thinking was whatever side of the Mississippi you live on, that's going to be your zone. And that has not been the case at all. They're sending their commentators all over the country. And you listen
But
to
in the
some of these people.
second half of the season, we're starting to see certain pairs covering certain teams. I think for the last 5 Union games, we've had
Yeah, do you think Danny has it in
Angelosi
his
and Higginbotham.
contract? Yeah, do you think he has it in his contract that he needed to call majority of the Union games?
I don't know if it's that because we didn't have him every game at the first half of the season, right? It's only been really this second half. So I don't know if Apple started to like realize, hey, these guys are traveling too much and they don't know what the hell they're talking about in these other games, and they're starting to leave them towards it. I mean, we've had Steve and Danny for the last 5 games, definitely, maybe even more. I can't speak on other teams because I'm usually watching those games on mute also, but there's probably a trend forming now in the second half of the season because they're learning as they go. It's literally year 1. It's the first time Apple's ever done this. It's the first time anyone's really ever done something of this scale.
Yeah. And of course, there's going to be hiccups along the way. I mean, yeah, watching this game, I know you were obviously in the stadium. And when I go back and if I miss something live action, I'll try to rewatch it on my laptop. And the feed cut out multiple times on the game between Philadelphia Union and Tijuana. We saw it in MLS Cup. The feed got all jacked up, and that's going to happen. Yes, it's annoying when it happens, but like you mentioned, it's year 1 and they're going to correct issues that they've had along the way. And they kind of forced a lot of things to get the season kickstarted with the pairings and everything else I had to do behind the scene. Building the studio, that came along very, very quickly. Yeah, it does for a rush job. And I mean, stuff I think is going to be a lot better. And I'm happy too, because I wanted to do goal breakdowns last year, but the quality of some of the games were god awful. And it's like, man, this isn't even 1080. Like this is 720. A lot of the games I feel like the Union were in. And I was like, okay, trying to upload this onto YouTube. Now it's going to be like you're watching 360. Nobody wants to watch that. So at least we get 1080p, I think it is, with MLS. So yeah, the quality, I mean,
and
that's
4K potentially next year they're working on, they said.
Yeah, it's my big takeaway is just the picture quality is so good.
It's incredible. The radio broadcasts for home games at the very least is awesome, and there's talks of them providing them for away games also is great, and that'll give a lot of the commentators that maybe weren't chosen to do work in this previous season opportunities to come back in the next season.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but the Union are sending their commentator teams on every single away game, which they haven't done in years past. So I'm glad to see
the radio
that.
Broadcast guys.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're sending Dave and Shannon to every single away game, and I think that adds a better level of production because they're there live at the game. I don't know if you saw this, but Sports Business Journal, they tweeted out and said that the Messi goal was viewed 54.3 million times on Twitter, which has earned MLS 1.1. Yes.
Kicking a goal.
Yes. Has earned them $1.1 million.
I believe it says is valued at, not earned them.
Yeah, value. You're right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Game currently has an estimated social value of 1.1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just from like a content valuation standpoint of like videos getting views and whatnot. But that's Messi, but that's also Apple. How many people do you think watched that game on Apple?
Everyone.
Everyone, right? How many people signed up for Apple when Messi was rumored to announce, said he intended to join Miami? I mean, did you see earlier the stats that I think it was mid-season, they said there was like 700,000 subscriptions, and now they said we're about to break 1 million.
Dang.
So, and I think they're including the people that were given season tickets. So, I mean, that's probably a big chunk, but to go from 700 to 1 million, that's a huge increase, and that's probably just Messi alone.
And it's only going to get bigger and bigger.
Exactly. As we bring in more players, more young players. I mean, look at the Twitter responses when we signed the young South African. Now we've got an entire country that are Philadelphia Union fans because of this one 19-year-old. Now if somebody brings in a 22-year-old from Brazil, a 23-year-old from England that people are following because everybody loves to look at, lower levels now and follow kids as they progress. If they come to the MLS, those people are going to now watch MLS also.
I agree.
And they can now watch MLS also.
Yeah, it's crazy how many countries you can watch it in. And I'm sure that number is probably going to go up too next year. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So,
everybody's going to want to get Apple Plus now. Apple TV Plus.
Or Apple devices. Thanks,
Yep,
MLS.
Apple devices. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We kind of got away from talking about the game. Do you want to talk about the game? Not talk about the
Union? No, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the Leagues Cup again. There's so much stuff that happened in Leagues Cup that we didn't even talk about. Did you see Alan Pulido's headbutt?
Yeah, it was one of the 5 red cards. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Red card, and then they shook hands and hugged afterwards.
And now he misses playing against his former team in Chivas.
I think that was rigged. He did not want to play against them.
Yeah, how could he? How could he play against his boyhood club? So I'm going to go ahead and get a red card so I don't have to. And he was linked too to move away from Sporting Kansas City to go back to Chivas. And he started scoring. And now these rumors have died down. And
somebody's going to buy him.
I think so too.
I don't think he stays another season with Kansas.
Which, are you surprised by their turnaround in MLS?
Yes and no. They, on paper, are 11 guys with talent. I don't know what was going on with them. I mean, Alan Pulido has been out, I think, 8 months, right? Like, I don't think he played one game this season until he came back. He got hurt late last season. So they were missing their guy. It's like how Minnesota was. Well, no, that's not true. It's how we thought Minnesota was going to be without Reynoso. They actually ended up, taking the league by storm without him those first couple of games, but he is their guy. He is what held the team together. I mean, there's Johnny Russell is there. He's obviously the captain and the voice, but Alan Pulido is the attack. And without him, they were struggling. And now that he's back, they're a completely different team.
Agreed. We saw Reynoso score 2 goals last night for Minnesota. Big performance for him. Big performance for a whole bunch of Argentinians in Leagues Cup. Julian Gressel, the first Argentine to score a brace, and then Reynoso had to follow that up and say, not so fast. And come on, Messi, you're definitely not the best Argentine in MLS. Only 1 goal against Cruz Azul. He'll go out and score a hat trick against Atlanta.
Oh, he's gonna crush it. Messi versus Guzan.
Yeah, Brendan Aronson. No offense to Brendan, but Brendan Aronson, first game, first goal against Brad Guzan, puts him on his butt. Imagine what Messi's going to do to this guy. He's going to dribble the ball around him, just toy with him.
It's going to be a Messi versus Almada free kick shootout.
True. Yeah, I forgot about that.
There's going to be fouls everywhere because they're going to be trying to get the ball off of these guys, and then there's going to be banging free kicks at the woodwork.
We'll see who can score the first free kick. Is it going to be Almada or Messi? I wonder if anybody has betting odds out for there. I mean, I think I've seen some people say that they try to bet for Leagues Cup games, but some people said that they had a difficult time finding it. So
I haven't checked yet.
I don't bet, so yeah, definitely not sure. Maybe all the betting sites don't care about Leagues Cup, but so we don't get distracted again. Definitely ADHD on this podcast. Let's go ahead and end the podcast talking about Philadelphia Union and Club Tijuana. This is what Jim Curtin had to say after the game. The Union did win that game 3-1, but the second half performance was god awful.
I thought overall tonight we started the game in the first 15 minutes the right way. I always think it's important when you're in an elimination competition. Your first game kind of sets the tone for how the tournament will go. After we got our goal, and then a second goal, we kind of thought it was over or thought it was going to be comfortable or easy. And obviously came out in the second half with a really, really disappointing start. They punished us. Tijuana, a good team, punished us even down a man. Obviously needed Andre to make a big save to bail us out in a big spot. But overall, started to play a little bit smarter after that, got our third goal, and we were able to finish the game off. Not our best performance. I think we know that. Not many guys had good days, but this competition is about surviving and advancing. And from that standpoint, it is a big 3 points. And we move on now to Querétaro. We'll have to recover quickly and have a pretty quick turnaround Wednesday. But I think we all recognize we need to be a little bit sharper than that.
So you said a whole bunch of guys didn't have good performances. I don't know. I thought majority of the team did have good performances. The only ones I think weren't great were Quinn Sullivan, which wasn't Quinn's fault. They were getting the ball to Julian Gressel more than they were getting it to Quinn Sullivan. And then Bizer was great in the first half, and then in the second half, lucky that he wasn't sent off, because we saw 2 challenges by Tijuana players, their first fouls, and they get red cards. Bizer gives up a penalty in the box. That's a dangerous kick. Doesn't even get a card for it. And Jim Curtin talked about it too after the game, said, yeah, that was the right call. It was definitely a penalty on Bizo, but they don't give him a card. And they go ahead and miss the penalty, or I guess Andre Blake saves the penalty. 44% penalty saved by Andre Blake since 2020. And why is 2020 important? Why is that specific? That's because that's when Phil Wedden took over as goalkeeping coach. And that guy's been a godsend. And going back to the coaches convention, if your son wasn't born on Saturday, definitely could have had a chance to talk with Phil Wedden. I mean, that guy's fantastic. And he's been, we talk about great player signings, but what about great coaching signings? Phil Wedden's been that for the Union.
Frank Leich too. We've done incredible. We've really picked up incredible assistant coaches
Pat
over
Noonan.
the last several years, and it's played out on the field. You can link the last 5 seasons of the Union's growth with each of those guys coming on board.
It's no surprise that Pat Noonan got the job in Cincinnati. He was ready. I think maybe not everybody, but a majority of the fan base that are diehards could tell you that, yeah, Pat Noonan is great for this team, what he does tactically. Like, he is Jim Curtin's right-hand man. And have the Union replace that? I would argue they have not. Yes, that they've given more responsibilities to Frank and Phil and Ryan Richter, but no offense to those guys, none of them are Pat Noonan. And losing Pat is a big loss, and that's a big reason why Cincinnati's as successful as they are. Yes, Chris Albright as well as Kyle McCarthy as well, and you sprinkle in some of the Philadelphia Union players there too. It's no surprise to me that Cincinnati is as good as they are this season, which some fans are like, oh man, Cincinnati, like, how are we allowing Cincinnati to be ahead of us in the East and the supporters standings? They're a good team. Like, don't discredit that. They're a well-coached team, and a lot of what Pat Noonan did with the Philadelphia Union, he has his Cincinnati players doing. But I texted you this in the group chat that it was pretty obvious. Like, after the Union went up 2-0, they stopped taking the game serious against Tijuana. Like, go for the killer, go for the third goal. And they didn't. And Tijuana, to their credit, a man down, hit the Union straight in the mouth. They attacked Bizer's right side on the first goal. The second potential goal that led to the penalty, again, they attack Bizer, he gives up a penalty. And Jim Curtin said enough's enough and takes out Bizer, which was 100% the right call. But I don't know what that was from the Union in the second half, other than they didn't take Tijuana serious.
2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline. Teams always let up when they're up 2-0. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I completely fell asleep. They scored within a minute, right, of the second half?
Yeah, the 47th minute. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And as much as I, dog on Leagues Cup, I think it's important, and I know this is crazy that I'm saying this, it's you have to take these games serious. As much as I say, oh yeah, the Union need to get knocked out, like, you're creating a habit, a bad habit, where you didn't take Tijuana serious, and then they punch you right in the mouth. Because what if you have that habit continue in MLS? Let's say you're playing Charlotte you should beat Charlotte. We should have beat Charlotte last year, and we got blown out. A game you went to, right? I mean, what a terrible trip for you to go to, and the Union lose that game 4-0. They didn't take that game serious.
We need to take these games serious, because if we get eliminated in the group stage, we've got 3 weeks off, and that's not good. What are we, 11 weeks from the start of the playoffs? Not a time to be taking 3 weeks off. We saw what 3 weeks off does in between the end of the season and playoffs. So we need to take these games serious. We need to use them, if the very least, to remain fit and tactically sound. And then we need to get back to the league in shape and not injured.
I agree. The last clip I'll play is Jim Curtin's thoughts on Olivier Bazo's second half, and we can dive into that here after we hear from Jim.
I think after games, it's not the time. I think emotions are too high. They can be too high and too low. So that's always been my approach after a match. So we'll watch the tape. I wasn't happy with the way the whole team started the second half, but in particular on that side, there was a couple big mistakes after he played a great first half. So this has been my messages to Mbaizo for years now. His talent is Premier League, Bundesliga, French League One talent. But if you don't do it every minute of every game, that's why you're still here. You know what I mean? So that's a hard message to hear, but it's one that I've told him to his face. I've told you guys that. And I thought the start of the second half as a team wasn't good enough, and something had to change. And there were some mistakes there, and it could have been 2-2, so I wanted to be proactive rather than wait to see them, work their way out of it. I think the moment at the time's gone, because we're up a man. It should be under control, and it was a really poor start to the second half. I'll take some blame for that too, but that was not acceptable.
Is that harsh for Jim Curtin to tell Mbaizo? Yeah, that's why you're still in MLS, because you have these inconsistent performances.
It's absolutely not, because look at how many big moments Mbaizo has let us down. He wasn't the main culprit, but he could have done better in preventing that cross from getting to Gareth Bale. He could not have given up that ball to Talis Magno in 2021 that led to us losing the Eastern Conference final. He is great, but like Jim said, it's not every minute of every game. He has major blunders sometimes that have cost us some big moments and some small moments. So it's absolutely why he's not here, or still here. It's absolutely why he isn't getting the starting job with Cameroon, which is another reason why he's still here, because we all thought he would have been sold after AFCON, but he didn't even play.
That's a great point. That was a big opportunity for Mbaizo to show himself on the national stage with his home country, and doesn't even get any playing time. And yeah, it's great that he made the roster, but it's also pretty bad when he didn't see a single minute in that tournament. And like Jim said, these inconsistent performances are why Mbaizo's not out of MLS yet. And as much as he might want to go, okay, we know, Mbaizo, you want to be with your family, but we can't force teams to sign you. I mean, I guess the Union can release him from his contract, but are they going to do that? I would say no. That's not really the Union's MO. But maybe there just aren't any teams interested in Mbaizo. And I don't know, maybe he's stuck here as much as he wants to go back and be with his family. Like I said, you can't force teams to buy Mbaizo. I mean, it's kind of like the whole Jamiro situation where, okay, we don't have to get into that. I know you have a lot of thoughts, but
same Kai Wagner situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to Europe.
Yeah,
well, we can't make anybody buy you.
Yeah, we value at a certain number, and if nobody's hitting that, or if nobody's bidding at all, then we're not going to just release you. Like, you're a huge asset. So, I said it before. I mean, the whole Olivier Mbaizo situation, will the Union sell him? Will they keep him? That's definitely one to keep an eye on. But this is definitely the longest podcast in a while. And like I told you guys at the beginning, I don't know if we'll do an episode on Thursday or Friday. Probably not, honestly. Planning on going fishing on Saturday. So, I don't know. It doesn't leave me much time to try to get a guest on Thursday. I guess I could, but do I really want to for this competition? No. And quickly, blunder of the week's going to Leagues Cup, even though, Billy tried to convince me, but they have severely lacked in the production department. Tried to join Jim Curtin's press conference midweek last week. No audio. They canceled the Zoom conference. Don't tell anybody that, oh yeah, come back in. Everything's good now. So I think only 2 people showed up. And I was like, I'm not showing up for like 2 minutes because nobody got an email saying, okay, everything's fixed. And then I joined the Inter Miami press conference today. And somehow the audio was only going in the left ear. Don't know what happened to the audio on the right. So they definitely have some production issues going on in Leagues Cup. And for people that want to blame Liga MX, MLS, or CONCACAF, none of those teams, or leagues, I should say, are to blame. Leagues Cup is its own committee, and I don't even know who's a part of Leagues Cup. So for all of our production issues, find out who's on the Leagues Cup committee and direct your anger at them, not at MLS, Liga MX, or CONCACAF, because it's a brand new committee. But Billy, thanks so much for coming on, and I know we definitely went on a lot of rants, and I honestly was not expecting us to talk this long with absolutely zero preparation, but no, obviously you had a lot of thoughts to talk about for Leagues Cup. We're still waiting for your podcast. 2 of them, Growing Up Union and MLS Slander.
Look, Major League Slander has become impossible to get other fans to come on and talk shit with us. They either don't respond to messages at all, or say, "Oh yeah, we'll come on," and then don't come on. It's not on our end. We literally cannot find people to come on and talk to us.
Yeah, it's because people know you guys are going to win the debate every single time, so they're not going to want to come in there and be slandered and say, "Yep, I have no comeback for this. Yep, you're right. Our team's god awful, and we're just gonna sit here and then." Joseph, let's go ahead and turn every single episode into pro/rel talk. And that's what majority of those episodes have been, I feel like.
Yeah, it seems like everybody we brought on, other than me, are all pro-rel dorks.
So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that you guys aren't doing that podcast anymore, because we don't need any more Teds in the world. Or I should say rich ransoms.
Yeah. We've been talking about maybe still doing it and just talking shit about teams without letting them defend themselves. So keep an eye out. It might be back.
Let's go. Well, for people that want to follow you on social media that aren't following yet and following a podcast that has been inactive for a couple months, where can people follow all that stuff?
Once again, I highly recommend not following me. You will not have a good time. But you can check out my website at PhiladelphiaUnionArchive.com, where I slowly post pictures of game-worn memorabilia that I have collected over the years that I'm now showing my sons about, cataloging the history of the Philadelphia Union through game-used equipment and memorabilia. I have the website. I also have an Instagram where I will post. I have a Twitter also for it, where I will post when I make an upload to the website, which I will then retweet from my main Twitter account, which I highly recommend not following.
Yeah, definitely don't follow, because Billy will find a way to get into a debate with you. And
thank you for calling it a debate.
Yeah, it's a debate. It's not
I'm just debating people.
Yeah, you're not bullying people. You're not arguing with people. It's a debate.
It's not an argument. It's a debate.
Then you make people look foolish. And then you occasionally get reported and your account blocked and sometimes banned.
Yeah, forever,
which is not what I did at all. That is not why Billy had to make a second account. But if you guys aren't following the podcast still on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. The YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. And I think that's pretty much everything. So, yeah, no episode for the second Leagues Cup game against Querétaro and Philadelphia Union.
Querétaro.
But we'll go ahead and figure out what we'll do either during the weekend or next week. And definitely want to bring on another guest. So we'll see who we get lined up next. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.